going out, so I've got to look after the kid, but I need to talk to him about all sorts of stuff. We're live, and we're live, and we're live. Just so you know, Flav.
Good.
I think I sent you the link.
You did. You did.
Right.
Is this podcast live or?
Not main channel live. Because I thought
Feels like ages since we've done this.
I know.
It is. It has been. It's been 3 weeks.
Yeah. So yeah, first and foremost, mind-blowingly large apologies for everyone who became a new patron, and then we just fucked you off.
Well, we didn't. It was just impossible.
Yeah, we tried.
It was.
I nearly had a breakdown.
Yeah.
And I don't know if people. I just couldn't. We could. What was it? I couldn't hear you. No one could hear you apart from me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was tough.
Is this...
Right. Let me just make sure we're recording. Is this these audio levels good? Do we need any bumping?
How am I in 1, 2? Can everyone hear me all right?
I think you're louder than me, and
Should I turn me down?
Turn yourself down a little bit. Yeah.
Is that right?
1, 2, 3. We're bumping. We're bumping. Okay.
1, 2,
right.
1, 2. I'm too loud. Am I too loud now?
I think
bar
wise, we look similar. I think
1, 2, 1, 2.
Yeah, I think we're good. If anything, you've gone too far. Self bump.
What, a little self bump? Better? Is that better now? Everyone happy?
Much better, Flav. Okay. Good.
Okay.
Good.
Yeah, massive apologies. While James has been away being an actual, Sky journalist.
Vaguely.
Yeah, I've been kind of sitting around doing very little, which has been nice.
Have you? Okay, right. Let's start.
I've never. Yeah. Let's start.
Okay. What I will say just before we start, guys. Well, I have no running order whatsoever. So, 1 reset pot, but 2 sort of mailbag mix. I'd really like the chat, you guys to get involved. So please do ask as many questions as possible. But really, Flav was like, okay, well, let's start. No, explain. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to James and Flav for Now. We are back. Flav's looking resplendent, looking refreshed in his studio. We've both gone with dark colours, which I think is generally fine. Although I've had some costume issues actually over the last 3 weeks whilst I've been in Qatar.
What do you mean?
Well, so what happened was, I thought, right, off to Qatar. They've shown me the view of the background that we're going to have in Souk Waqif in Qatar, and I thought this is exciting. And I thought, do you know what? I'm probably going to get a bit of a tan here. Maybe I'm going to bring white shirts. I lost a bit of weight as well. Let's show off the arms. That's what I thought. And then I get there, and it was so sunny that they went, we're having a bit of a problem with the backdrop. It's a bit overexposed. So if you can not wear anything too light or too dark. And I was like, what the fuck? What does that mean? Because all I had was, dark tops or white tops, which is annoying. Jim, and now
Well, before we get into kind of your experiences in Qatar, because it is bizarre that you've been out there for 3 weeks. What do you make of? And we're going to talk about that, aren't we, at depth, like what you've been up to and what's been going on in Qatar. What did you make of the World Cup overall? Because it's over now, right? We can forget the rest of it even exists. It's over.
Yeah. Well,
England are out. Fuck the rest. I'm not watching a single minute of it. Fuck it.
Well, so obviously, there are the semi-finals and the final. We're recording this before Messi versus Modric, which warning, maybe a tiny bit of football chat. I did think, right, if Modric tears up Argentina tonight and gets that Croatia team, who are so average, to another final, have we been talking about the wrong bloke the whole time?
What, as opposed to Messi?
We've been talking about Ronaldo. We've been talking about Ronaldo and Messi for this whole time.
Modric has done more from Croatia than both Ronaldo and Messi have done for their respective countries.
If he makes
altogether,
it probably now,
including the Euros win. Yeah. Yeah, look, I mean, can we just say quickly, wouldn't it be great if Messi gets a hamstring tonight, and misses out on the final? Oh God, I'd feel so good about that. That would
That's a
be
good
amazing.
question as well. How do you feel about the Messi loving?
Is there a loving?
Is there not? See, this is what's going to be interesting. It's like you can tell me the kind of the Western ways, and I can kind of give you the Qatari ways.
This is what I'm saying. I'm fascinated by how you've experienced the World Cup being there and what we've experienced here. I wouldn't say there was a love-in for him at all. Not from the media. The narrative about him winning a World Cup finally in his last World Cup, that is there. But I don't think they're talking about it in a way that's... Apparently it is happening, and I've just avoided it. I know Ollie and Morgan are saying in the comments that there has been a love-in.
So we've got Flav giving the Western ways, but then we've got sense check from the chat. This is good. This is good.
I would say maybe my own. Well, I don't know. I mean, it's a media narrative. But I don't think you'll find any person in the street that wants Messi to win this World Cup.
Well, I think you've got this wrong. I think you're miles off.
I wouldn't want to share a pint with anybody who wants to sit down and wants Messi to win this.
No, I mean, not over England or anything like that. Obviously,
it'd be much better if Modric won it. What about his last World Cup? Much better for Modric.
I think it goes Argentina. Oh, that's a good question. I think
you want Manchester City to win the league.
I think so.
Argentina over France for sure.
My driver here is, it's one of those where it's like, if Morocco win it, you're like, oh, come on. For fuck's sake. Yeah, but for fuck's sake, England. You just fucking win one. Even Morocco winning it. Like, that would annoy me. So in terms of the emotional drivers, I think we've stumbled across something here. Because I think in life there are emotional drivers, right? And with this, so your emotional driver is Modric. So you're going, okay, let's give it to Modric, which all valid, and it's a country of like 3 million, blah 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 blah. My emotional driver is I hate Ronaldo. I've always hated him. I hate him. I don't like what he's about. I don't like how he behaves. We hate him. And if Messi wins the World Cup, it's like the conversation's over. We can stop doing this conversation about who's the greatest. It's done. And to be honest, over this tournament, what I've seen, right? This is really interesting, by the way. What's been really interesting for me is the fact that although I'm in Qatar and you're around people there, sort of, and we can get into that, what you are really tasting in terms of understanding of the people's opinion is Twitter. It's Twitter, and that's about it, really. Which is a horrible place to be.
That's really sad to hear.
Yeah, it's that, and it's TikTok.
Becoming that everywhere, though, as well, isn't it? It's fast becoming that.
Yes, and it's that, and it's TikTok. And so, what I've found, like the hypocrisy in me is like huge, obviously, with all of this. And again, we can break down that as well, because I was desperate to watch Messi at a World Cup, and then I'm getting annoyed when I go on TikTok or Twitter, and all people will talk about is which one's better. And also, me and you are now talking about it within 9 minutes of a podcast, and you're hating every second of it. Fine.
Well, look, you don't have to talk about it. You don't have to bring it up. I've stopped thinking about this when we were doing this discussion when we had nothing else to talk about at Ball Street 7 years ago.
We do a video on that. Yeah. It's international break. What are we going to do?
Shit, better Ronaldo. Who is better between Ronaldo and Messi is one of the most mundane, banal conversations you can possibly have about football. Who gives a shit?
Yeah,
we can talk about why they're better than Pele. I know he's poorly at the moment. You can't sort of shit on his career, but they're 10 times better. They've achieved so much more than Pele has achieved. That's an interesting conversation.
Never won the World Cup though, did they? Never won the World Cup. That's the thing. So that's why the reason I would like Messi to win it, or I'm certainly okay with it, is that it ends. The conversation is over.
How about this? I've got a compromise for you, Jim. I'll tell you about this. Is what I reckon. I'm okay with Argentina winning the World Cup if Messi gets injured tonight and can't lift the trophy. So he's contributed. He's won the World Cup. He just hasn't played in the final. I'd happily see that happen.
Okay.
That'd be good, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Well, why do you want him not playing in the final then?
Because I'm just bored of like people sucking him off all the time. Who gives a shit? Kick the ball.
I know, and I'm one of those, sadly, because watching him was mental.
Ollie just says he would still lift it. Yeah, no, yeah, he would go up and go, I'm going to take the glory, guys, because he's Messi and he has the ego. I did nothing to contribute to this 90 minutes, but I'm going to lift the trophy. He would, and that just shows the man he is.
Well, he did, didn't he? So Morgan, this is you, right, isn't it? So me and Morgan met in Qatar, I think.
Did he have his hat on?
So Morgan said, off topic, Morgan's one of our patrons, you would become a patron, links in the description. Off topic, but Thogden is a gremlin. His dad took a photo of me gutted after we lost to France. Grow up.
What?
No, we didn't. Oh, Morgan. Oh, right. Oh, sorry. Okay, I'm getting confused.
You met with someone else.
I met with someone else. Sorry, I met with... Oh, God, I'm getting confused with names now. Because basically... So one of the... I mean... God, getting into, like, being there then. Obviously, I went to 17 games. 17 games. It was, like... To the point where it's like... Oh... Like, there was so many games. Fortunately, obviously, it's a competition, so it's not like a league format. Because if it was a league format, it went to 17 games, I literally would have... I don't know what I would have done. But
Jim, I watched more games, more minutes of football in this World Cup. I know there was more games, but I watched so much football. And, I don't really... I do find football can be tedious at times. But this is kind of... I feel rejuvenated by this World Cup. It's just unfortunate that it happened in Qatar. But I can't tell you how much I've enjoyed watching football during this World Cup.
So what's that? Where's that come from? Is that from the constant sort of Tottenham pressure that you'd not had in these 3 weeks?
I think, yeah, I guess removing any kind of... I didn't like... Because I don't feel about England the way I do about Spurs. I can watch England relax. Like when they got beat by France, I didn't really feel anything. I just went on with my... I slept well and didn't think about it again, really.
Yeah. Don't you think that... I get the feeling everyone feels that way.
Fun. Like people going after it. Yeah, of course they do. Most people are club over country.
No, sorry, but I mean specifically this tournament. Coming back to what you're saying about how did I feel about Qatar and how did you guys feel about Qatar? I'm interested to know how everyone's felt watching it here, because from the reports I've had back. So, for example, views have been really bad across the board and have sort of panicked a lot of YouTubers when I've kind of been out there. Yeah. And there's a few reasons for that. One is, especially when you get into a group stage, you have 4 games a day. So in terms of putting out content, people are either watching the game or watching highlights of the game. They're not really interested in what you've got to say about it. And as we know, the sort of the life cycle... Sorry, it's so cold up here. I'm just going to put the heater back on. It's... The life cycle of things, shelf life of things, is so fast moving and it's so saturated with loads of football content that everyone's views have been like bad. But also, when I've sort of had that conversation with a few people, they've gone, "Oh, no one cares here. No one's bothered about the World Cup at all." Would you agree with that?
No, I wouldn't at all. Yeah. There's 2 things. I think people. I think look from a YouTuber's perspective. You need the people to be passionate about the clubs that or the teams that you're talking about. We know from working on World Cup content and Euros content ever since Ball Street, you see the views disappear because people are not invested in the way they are about their clubs.
Right.
You do well on England, but you're one of the very few that actually do. So I think it's less. It's more. There's less. What do you call it? There's a word. There's less needle, basically. There's
right.
People are much more passionate about club football than they are about international football. So that I wouldn't, if I was a YouTuber, I wouldn't be panicking about this because the views are going to go back to normal when the club season begins. This is a part of it. But in terms of the interest of the World Cup, everyone I've spoken to, look, once you've removed all the political aspects of it, in order to have this conversation, you have to. people have loved it. People are talking about it. I've had loads of conversations saying this is probably the best World Cup they've ever watched in terms of entertainment value.
Really?
Yeah.
What? I guess just because of the results
how
that
much
we've
fun
seen.
it's been.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
and the upsets and the fact that do you remember I said something on the podcast about a year ago when we talked about, I think it was that basically the big nations shouldn't be made to go through shitty qualifying grounds, right? The level of the worst teams, like Qatar, were garbage, but other than
Qatar
that,
was so
everyone was
bad. It was unbelievable.
They're not. They've got 16. What is it? Is it a 12 team league? 16 team league?
Yeah,
they're just garbage. It should never have been there. But
that was a mad when because we get there, everything's like doused in, it's so politicized. Everything's like, oh, this is a disgrace of a tournament, all that stuff, and you kind of get there, and then we had this mad first night where we tried to go to this fan park, and after the few brief conversations we've had, the one thing I was sort of saying to you is that the sort of logistics and the training of the workers there was quite incredibly limited, and so I've never, and I never will, be asked to go. No, just keep going around more in my life than I have in the last 3 weeks. It was honestly
around the stadium.
It was incredible because no one knew anything.
So you're trying to get into the stadium, and they're just going, just pass. Can you just move
so
this
my
problem
first
along
exactly.
away
So
from me?
for my first experience of it was like, wow, Qatar, Ecuador. Let's go to the fan park. There's going to be a lot of people there. It's going to be really interesting. Let's see are there any Qatar fans actually here? And there were, because we all went there, but then you just had these workers who had not been trained properly and didn't have, I guess, the years of experience that you would have if you were in Germany or the UK or whatever. Yeah. And so all they kept doing was going, let's get this off my plate. Now keep going round, keep going round. But I'm like, but there's a massive opening there that we could go through here. And I can see there's no one the other side. Anyway, it basically kept going round and round and round and round until it bottlenecked. And I've told you this, but there was a moment where someone was holding up their child because it was getting so cramped. And I said to Seb, who's my producer out there, I was like, let's get out of here. What are we doing here? Like, what are we trying to achieve? So we left and then walked for an hour.
So this wasn't the stadium. This was a fan park.
This is just a fan park, yeah. And I met Vuj was on the inside. And I was like, is it rammed, is it? And he's like, there's no one in here. But because of the poor organisation, everyone was just outside. So that was a bit of a car crash. And then we walked about an hour, finally found a hotel that had a rooftop bar. We got to the top of this rooftop bar. And then
drinks?
Drinks. Yeah, drink. You can get drinks. You can find drinks. And 4 minutes in, there was that offside goal that was disallowed, and we looked at each other. Everyone in there just went, "Oh no!" Like, this is like not even. It's not even like subtle corruption. Like, they've literally gone, right, what can we make up here? Let's say it's offside. It turns out, obviously, it was offside, but like the whole world. It was
same.
I saw your tweet. We all thought it was like, it was such a great example of see it's corrupt, and that is and of course it is in terms of how they got it, but being there, over time, you start to get a broader picture of like the fact that there's a lot of people there, and it was interesting to see the Western take on it all through Twitter, and obviously it all calms down once the first set of games happen and everyone said their piece about how bad this World Cup is. And I'm not trying to say that with any kind of disrespect, because I think obviously the reasons are completely valid. But I thought there was one comment from Gary Neville which I thought I sat with it for a bit, and because initially, as a Western person, I sort of flinched a little bit, and he said the Middle East should definitely have a World Cup, There should be World Cups in the Middle East. And initially I went, oh, you can't say. There's so much. God, there's so much. I'm so bored of watching apology videos. I've seen so many bloody apology videos over the last couple of months, right? That that happened. He said, "Oh, the Middle East should have a World Cup," and I went, "Oh, you can't say that."
When? What's the timeline of this? When did he say that?
He said this, I think, about a week into it, maybe. And
what was his point, though? What was his angle?
Because the people saying, should the World Cup be here? Roy Keane's saying it shouldn't be here. And I think the thing that I realise is how much opportunity we are afforded as Western football fans. And I just think the world is just littered with constant judgment, haranguing, and demanding for you to fit my box. And obviously there are some basic elements in life. But I think what was really revealing to me was the othering that I do to the Middle East and the othering that the West does to the Middle East. And
what do you mean othering?
So, for example, I went to Portugal, Uruguay, and I didn't enjoy it. And the reason I didn't enjoy it was because I walked out and there was so many Portugal fans and they've all got a Ronaldo shirt on. And I'm walking in there and I'm thinking, you start to know the amount of fans that are from the countries of those countries as you're, knocking about and you go to the games. You see which countries are better represented than others. Portugal and Uruguay are very similar in terms of the amount of people. Yet 3/4 of the stadium was filled with Ronaldo shirts.
Was this locals?
And it was locals, yeah. So initially, and I think in the moment, I bet I would have said something snobby, where I would have gone, if Ronaldo is from Uruguay, the colour of this stadium is completely different. It's light blue. It's not maroon.
I think that was one of my takeaways from the World Cup was how much of a shame that was.
So what? So just to finish that off, and because I'm intrigued to hear what you say about this, but just to finish it off, what you then realise though is we go. I know football from grassroots. I know it ingrained in my entire culture, ingrained in my family. I go and watch QPR, and that's my team, and everyone who's there is from generally the same kind of area, and and there's all of that, and there's that form of community, right? But the more I thought about it, is that we've had World Cup after World Cup and Champions League after Champions League and Premier League season after Premier League season where you could just go to a game if you want to go to a game. In the Middle East, the opportunity to go and watch the best players in the world is not available, has never been available to any of these people. Because when we think of the Middle East, we think of these sheikhs and we think of everyone dressed in white gowns. We think of that. But there's a whole population of people there that in their entire life, first of all, have never been to these kind of games or this quality of football. But secondly, what's been provided to them in terms of their outlook of football is Messi versus Ronaldo. It's the top of the top of the top. They don't know. They don't know all the nuance of it. They don't know all the songs. They're from Qatar, so they don't have a dog in the fight. So they don't have any of this opportunity that we've had throughout. We've always had England at every tournament. We've been able to go and support them at every tournament. We've been able to go there, wear our England shirt, and go, yeah, I'm English, I should be here. All these people haven't been able to have any of that. So, yes, they're missing certain elements of the nuance of it all, but they deserve an opportunity to go and watch these games as much as I do. And also, the hypocrisy in all of it is one thing I wanted to do whilst I was there was watch Lionel Messi live. An English bloke being around all these Argentinian fans, stealing a seat from an Argentinian fan to go and watch Lionel Messi because I wanted to, and somehow I think it's okay for me, but when we look at everyone else, we turn up our nose. I thought that was revealing.
I don't. I think that's a fair point. I think that there's a reason why, you know, so many people would want to. The locals would want to go and see Ronaldo playing Messi, because they've been fed that. But I think, like you say, it's the same anywhere. I remember listening to Spurs fans saying, "I'm looking forward to watching Messi play against Tottenham in the Champions League when we play Barcelona at Wembley." Which I didn't understand. I was like, well, what do you mean? Like, don't we want to win, or do you want to see Messi? Do you want to win, or do you want to watch Messi? If you want to watch Messi, then fucking go and buy a ticket to Barcelona and the Nou Camp and go and watch him, not against your own club. That was my feeling of it. The other thing is that all the reasons that you just said is probably another reason why they should never have had the World Cup. I think to some degree you need a level of football culture in order to host the World Cup, and there are many more.
But that's I don't think that's right.
I'm not saying. Well, I do. I think it's right because there are countries that are steeped in football culture have never had a chance to host the World Cup, much more so than Qatar. The reason why Qatar got the World Cup was because of the amount of money they were willing to pay to get it. But like, when has there ever been a Scandinavian World Cup?
Have there been bids for it? I guess that's look. I mean, I get what you're saying. I think money obviously is like I said myself. The way they got the World Cup is a stain. It is.
Yeah, we know. Yeah,
and we have to get past that. And their feelings on the feelings on gay rights. All of that we know, right? It's abhorrent. But the basis of like allowing the World Cup, which is a celebration of football and what football can provide to the world. And because it is like that side of it is stunning, and we need to retain it. And I saw it, like that's another thing. You talk about England fans, but that was one thing I was like, I'm generally we have got a long English football fans are not the best in the world. We're miles off it, and the way that we look and football is an escape for so many people, but for a lot of the way that English people escape through football is pretty ugly, like in comparison to all these other fans. But sorry, to come back to the Qatar thing, I think if a Middle East country puts a bid forward to have the World Cup, look, I don't enjoy it in the winter, but it was done and it got done as an opportunity to allow to spread football around the world. I don't see a problem with that at all.
No, all right, that's fine. But as long as it's more than money that comes into the reason why they get it, they have to understand the nature of how football works. And by your own admission, they didn't get that in Qatar.
Well, I think there's fandom and then there's infrastructure. Like the infrastructure was very much for show. The knowledge of the people on the ground was really poor.
But also the stadiums were half full, all of them, barring the Argentina and
it wasn't half full. It wasn't half.
There was tons of seats available, mate. There were tons of seats.
There were definitely seats available. I wouldn't go half full. I get that.
But why was that? Because there were princes with bundles and bundles and bundles of tickets in the pockets that weren't available to fans.
I wouldn't dispute that. I wouldn't dispute that at all.
It's not.
I get it.
There's many reasons why Qatar shouldn't have had the World Cup. And one of them is no football heritage, and it's important. It's important, a massive part of it. It sounds almost gammon what I'm saying, but I stand by it. There should be the populace should have. You can learn about football. It's not difficult to do that. It's the fact that there was in the Holland game, Netherlands versus Argentina, there was essentially 3 rows of Holland fans, and that was it. It looked like there was about 200 of them, and in the entire stadium to watch their nation play, it just doesn't. It didn't feel right. It didn't sit right with me. So what is this? Why isn't there a wall of orange, like there usually is?
Yeah, I get that. I just think I don't know. I just saw a lot of people who got to have their taste of it, and part of it was like I don't enjoy watching football that way, and going to the games was amazing. And the atmosphere, like the atmosphere at the Argentina games I went to was like, it was incredible, honestly, unbelievable. And same with the Brazil games to a point, pretty much. But I don't know. I think it was such a clear snapshot of like the global game, and it made me think that one, you can't escape it, and it will continue to run away from us. But also, it's not those fans' fault.
No,
it's
I'm not blaming
it's what's been kind of provided to them, and also you kind of, I don't know, you can't shut off the world from football. Like you're talking about football heritage. You're saying, you kind of. I mean, obviously it's a better heritage than Qatar, but like, where does football heritage start? Like at what point? Because the next one's going to be in America, and America didn't give a shit about football, soccer, whatever, for a long time, and it took time, and it took, it takes time, and it takes opportunity. It takes a World Cup in 1994 to excite and inspire people. Do you know what I mean?
More of an you make more of an argument for Eastern or Western Africa. You can make more of an argument for Saudi Arabia. They've been in the World Cup before. Qatar have had zero impact, zero football footprint. Saudi Arabia do. Western and Eastern Africa do. Never been World Cups there. And I know there's issues in infrastructure and whatnot. So Western Africa, Nigeria, Ghana, you could hold a World Cup there, but it's never even, it's the Qatar.
That comes back to FIFA from that point of view, doesn't it? Like
all of it comes back to FIFA. All of it comes back to them. It's fucking scumbags. That weird guy. He lives in Qatar. I hear the guy.
Does it? So every it seemed like every game, a couple of minutes in, they would show him, and I remember thinking, and the crowd would boo, and you just go, why even showing him?
What is this?
Just like odd. What was he saying? What was he saying?
Yeah, I understand, because I was. I don't know, man. We've discussed this so many times. This is the thing. This is like they've gone through all of this sort of the moral and ethical things and how they got it, but it doesn't matter what anyone says. The FIFA are going to be what FIFA are, time immemorial. Nothing's going to change with that. They'll just run out of corrupt states to give it to.
Well, I guess this is the thing. Is like, see, this is the problem. Is that you're going to go, okay, we'll stop it now. Right, that's enough now. Like things like, like the teams that are being bought right now, and like if Man United and Liverpool get bought by these corrupt countries, it's like, okay, everyone has to just give up on this like moral high ground.
Yeah,
because
it's done.
Yeah, it's so done. It feels so done.
Yeah, the horse is bolted for sure. It sounds like I won't mention any specifics, but someone I know decided not to do any content around the World Cup. Couldn't do it. Doesn't fit ethically sound to me. And I was like, well, you better think about stopping watching the Premier League, because you think this is that they're not nuts deep in our domestic game already. Because they are, and it will come to a point where everybody is owned by some sort of nation state or insanely rich person with a political agenda, has money to burn, and only a political agenda to serve, or some sort of face-making exercise afoot behind a football club. And then you'll have your Super League. It just will be called the Premier League. Yeah.
I found myself, and I still need to work on it, like, because it's still kind of in my mind. But what I was sort of saying was that, like, because there was this is what I mean. I think when you're so far away from it, you don't see like the families going to these games and really, really enjoying it, right? All you see is the top line corruption of it, and I get it, but there's still elements of good that have come from that tournament, definitely, right? 100%. But what I found myself thinking was like, what can we all just like leave each other alone? I was just like, I'm trying to think, like, because I want my football my way, and I want to like, love who I want to love, and I want everyone else to be able to love who they want to love. Like, so I just found myself kind of going, can everyone just fucking leave? Can everyone just shut up? I just like, and then like the hypocrisy and all of it is like, my channel is me giving my opinion. I'm doing it right now. I'm telling everyone to shut up in a Shure microphone. Like that will go out to
yeah.
my followers. Like, do you know what I mean? I'm just like, everyone's just shouting. It's just noise everywhere, and I feel like no one's taking a second just to like. And everyone's right. Everyone thinks they're right. I'm just like really struggling with it. And I don't know. I think that just being at the coalface of the hypocrisy of all of it, because I'm actually seeing some nice elements of a World Cup and a lot of joy and a lot of fans coming out and celebrating their team and all these things. And I'm just like, everyone's just shouting all the time. Can we just get on?
Nah.
But you can't. You're right. Like, this concoction of hypocrisy is absolutely everywhere. Absolutely everywhere.
And the problem is, and this is what I've come to appreciate, is you got to remember that football, and I've said it so many times, that football it's a pastime. It's supposed to alleviate stress. It's supposed to give something, give a break from all the normal mundane things you have to do in life. You know, when you're at the football, when I used to go to football, regularly and go and watch Spurs regularly, whether we were winning or losing, it was 90 minutes away from whatever shit I had going on in my life. And you literally go into your football stadium. When you go to Loftus Road, you go in to watch your football team and everything disappears apart from what everything in your life more or less just goes away, fades into the ether because you're at the football. And there's too much going on the pitch typically to engage. So your brain can't engage on the other things, and then you're asking people to give a shit about all this other stuff, like the Super League or like price rises and ticket prices and obscene amounts of money players get paid. Like, people just want to just block all that out and watch the football. They just want to watch the football, have a nice day with their family, a nice day out with their family, a couple of jars down a pub, maybe some food afterwards, and then go back. That's what they want.
Yeah.
But what's happening with the Qatar World Cup, and you can't not talk about it, you can't ignore it, in the Premier League, there's always something to be fucking angry about. And most people just want to just crack on and enjoy their football.
And do you know what it was? It made me really think about what I do and what I stand for. Like, because I just I think I kind of lost my way a little bit in terms of like my voice on my channel, because you're just trying to keep going. And it made me sort of take stock of, okay, what can I control, and what's a place I can create that can be a safe space for others, for the people that align with me. And I know that sounds a bit like over the top, but that almost like excited me, like of thinking, because basically also, like, being out there with Sky, you're talking to a lot of people at Sky, and we all have our ambitions, and we're like, where are we trying to get to? And then you're working at a World Cup and thinking, okay, so this is what people do when they work at a World Cup. Okay, I'm watching you. All right. Okay, and then watching myself, and it's been really mind blowing in terms of like, what do I want to do? How do I want to experience a World Cup? And what do I want to do with my career as well? Huh?
How do people work at the World Cup that's different from other things you've seen?
They're knackered. They're absolutely knackered. Like, they're not enjoying it. They're not. Like, I was so desperate to be there. And then I was so fortunate to be there, doing a show, and then that's it. And obviously, mate, I mean, I was broken by the end of it. Absolutely broken.
So because this is normal for you, like, it's been your normality for the last 3 weeks. But what was your days like? What did you have to do? How much work did you have to do? So was it just the morning, and then you had to then you could go and watch football? Or?
So first of all, I was walking like 23,000 steps a day, because. So let me break down my day. Okay. So once the tournament started, it was like this. So Qatar 3 hours ahead, and so what I found myself doing, and a lot of the best games were at 10 o'clock at night, right? So let's say.
So what's that time? Saturday's a 7 o'clock game.
7 o'clock for you guys, yeah. So the game tonight will be at 10 o'clock. Starts at 10 o'clock. So it takes an hour to get there, then half an hour to get in. You want to be there half an hour before the game kicks off. So let's say an hour and a half, right? So you get there for 9:30. So you've left at what are we doing? 7? No, 8. 8, right? So you've left at 8 to get there. The game's 10 till 12. Let's say 10 past, quarter past 12, because of all the extra time that's been afforded this year, which I quite liked, actually. So then you've got to try and get out. It would always take at least an hour to just kind of get out of the stadium to a metro. You've then got, that's if you had a metro near your stadium. So I told you this story where Al Janoub, which is one of the stadiums where I went to one of the games, I can't remember which one now. Basically, the metro station is a 53-minute walk from the stadium. So what they had was they had coaches and then they had taxis. Anyway, long story short, I waited like well over an hour and a half and then couldn't get an Uber because no one could get near me. But an Uber was willing to stand still on a motorway, so I had to run 2K to get to that car to get home. Anyway, so game finishes at 12. It takes you at least 2.5 hours to get home, sometimes even longer. I think I was 3 o'clock one time after a game in Lusail. You get home at 3. You're like wired by that point, so you kind of like, it takes you a second to calm down, get yourself to sleep. Let's say you get to sleep about 3:30 at best. You then need to get up. We needed to get in a cab to go to the Souk Waqif where our studio was at 11. Before that, because I was like, without getting into the money of it all, the money wasn't great. I was thinking I need to do videos because I wanted to cover the tournament. So I would then get up early at about 8 and try and do some videos generally. And then also go and have breakfast because I knew I needed breakfast because of what's to come. So 11 o'clock I would then... So I've had, about 4 or 5 hours there. 11 o'clock I would then go to Souk Waqif, where the studio was, would do the show, finish the show at about 1:30, and the games were starting at 1. So if I had a game at 4, because there's games at 1, 4, 6, and 10 or something like that, 8 or 10, something like that. You find yourself then going to 2 games during the day. There's that same cycle of it takes an hour and a half to get to it. It takes 2 hours for the game. It takes an hour and a half to get out. You've then got to get to the next ground. And often I was going to the 10 o'clock game. So in terms of getting food and lunch, you had that window between 1 and 2 generally to eat lunch. And then you're at a 10 o'clock game again. And the cycle goes round again.
You did that for like 30 days. How long was you out there for? 3 weeks?
So you did that for the group stages. And then after, I was doing 2 games quite often. But then it just started to break. You started to break down a little bit. So but then even if you just do the 10 o'clock games, you're still getting home at 3, you're getting up and the cycle happens again.
Yeah.
So Fogden is an absolute monster. I don't know how he's done it.
What did he do?
He's gone to every game.
he's every game.
Yeah. And it's unbelievable.
What was he driving? Could you get a car out there? Could you hire a car?
So what they did, they got these sort of scooter things, which made a big difference apparently to them.
Like an electric scooter.
Yeah, they were able to get a hold of them. So he was the guy, I can't remember his name now, but the guy was a producer with Thogden who followed him around. He said we'd go in the wrong direction to get one of these scooters because in the long run, he obviously got us to these places.
What was it like? An app that you could get these scooters? Is that what it is?
I don't know. There were just sort of a few knocking about at different times. I don't know how they were able to get their hands on them, but because I broke down in the end. I was like horrifically ill. I still feel pretty ill now because that's the other thing is the air condition. So the irony. There were so many amazing moments of irony. So here's three off the top of my head. So the first one was at halftime in games. So you had the stadiums were air conditioned. So you'd go to the stadium, then you'd get in the stadium and you'd be freezing because there was jets of air like on your ankles and stuff. So I'd often bring a jumper or I think there's a photo of me somewhere. I went to the Wales USA game. I had my coat on, and it's obviously hot in Qatar. So first amazing bit of irony was at half time they'd play these videos of how you should recycle to be sustainable, which we would watch in our air-conditioned stadiums that we were sat in. It was like, oh my word, like, are you serious? The second most, sorry, it's not ironic, it's just funny. Another weird thing that was funny in the stadiums was, so you had these stadium announcers, and obviously there's a sort of way of talking, isn't there, where they were trying to big up the crowd all the time, and they were talking like this all the time. And there's a goal scorer, and his name's Gareth Bale. And then there was this amazing moment where, do you remember Wales-Iran? I went to Wales-Iran.
Yeah, 2-0 game.
2-0 game, that's it. Both late goals. And Wayne Hennessy got sent off. And so one thing they do at these games is when someone gets booked, they announce it like during the middle of the games, 33 minutes, Flav Bateman has booking for England, Flav Bateman. And they do that. Anyway, this presenter or host or whatever, she got so sort of caught up in there. Right, it's the start of the second half. Go wild, yeah, doing that all the time.
Go wild,
whatever it would be like. So Wayne Hennessy gets sent off. She has to announce he's been sent off, and she goes, "Sending off for number one from Wales." Wayne. The most ironic thing of the entire trip was England US. We left I've got a story about that as well, actually. I couldn't, I'm sure we'll have some Americans, but I couldn't handle I was sat with the Americans and I had to leave. I couldn't handle it. Because
what was it, the chanting?
I couldn't handle the chanting.
Let's go, USA, let's go.
So, because we got there, I'll save the final line or anything. But I walked in. I was thinking, okay, where am I sat? And there's loads of American flags. I was thinking, oh no, I want to be with the English. I want to be with the English fans. And so we get there, and I'm stood there for a second. I'm thinking, I might, because like you said, there were seats knocking about. And what was interesting was that you could basically, all of the stadiums, whatever level you were on, you could walk the whole way round. So, for example, I was in Wales, US, and I was in one corner, and my mate, who's a Wales fan, Kai, he was around the other side, but we were on the same level. So I just walked the whole way round and went and sat with him. So when it gets to this game, I want to be with the England fans, and I sit down, and there's all these American flags, and then a guy starts to come down. He's about 50. He's got a Gerrard shirt. And I go, oh, okay, good. All right, it's not just we got some England fans there. Great. And he goes, and this guy in the Gerrard shirt goes, he goes, thank God, another England fan. And I was like, my head's just sort of like exploded. I was like, what? So he's obviously like, I don't know. I guess he's gone to America. He's got an English accent, American accent, but he's got an English shirt on. And he sits in front. He stands in front of me. He's like, "You ready to go?" And I was like, "Oh no." And I was thinking, "Okay, I might need to go here. I might need to make the move." And then the announcer goes, "Let's hear the starting lineup for for the USA." And he goes, "Who cares? They suck." And I'm like, "I'm out. I just left. I had to walk out and go around the other side." But the most ironic thing of the whole trip, was we drew 0-0 with USA, and we come out and we're walking, and fortunately Sky had a driver and had a van, so we could go to this car park in the middle of nowhere, and there he was. We'd have to wait about an hour for everyone to arrive. As we walked out, music was blaring, and I thought, I know that song. Guess what the song was?
Was it Sweet Caroline?
YMCA.
See,
I was like, they were playing YMCA. Da, da, da,
they
da,
probably
da,
don't
da, da,
know.
da, da,
Maybe
da.
they just didn't know. I don't know.
There's a place you can go.
Good.
I was like, wow. But yeah.
What did you, Jim? You know, you talked about like originally you planned to go there for like 3 weeks, or you'd been that was your part of your work, and then they asked you to stay to the end. You actually timed it quite well. I know you'd like to.
Yeah, I smashed it, didn't I? I absolutely smashed it. So
is
happy
Rory
with
still
that.
out there?
No, so Rory had to come back due to sort of a family thing. So he was gutted. He was so excited. He was so excited just being there, and he was like, "I could live here." Just like,
Oh, really?
yeah, because he sort of, he just starts like, and I was a bit nervous watching the England game with him because I said and I sort of had a chat with him before. I was like, I can't have you bashing Southgate during the game. We just need to support the lads. And he was like, of course. And it was good. It was really good watching the game with
James,
him.
let's actually talk a little bit about England. I'm wondering what you think, because what do you think? There's this talk about Southgate. Should he stay? He's talking. It's basically up to him. The FA would definitely want him to say that. They're basically, he'd probably get him to sign a new contract if he wanted one. I think, based on our performances, especially the one against France, that he should be given the Euros as well.
Yeah. So I did a sort of pure waffle, I guess, but I did like a 38-minute video just talking to camera yesterday about all of this. Yeah. So I did. So I agree with you, and I have a slightly different feeling on it. Like I'd be okay with him leaving because he's had a good crack at the whip.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. And he should be remembered as one of our greatest ever managers.
And what happens is that the next one, it's kind of like it's all or nothing in terms of like he's a failure because he has had 2 Euros, 2 World Cups. If he doesn't win it, I think he's. I've seen progression in terms of our performances, and you can see where it's heading.
There was no one who's like usually there's a massive gap between England and other teams. Like, the best 2 or 3 in the tournament are miles ahead of us. That isn't the case. That just isn't the case. Like going into that quarterfinal, I couldn't tell you who the best team in the tournament was. You'd look at France on paper and you think it was them. You look at the performance between England and France. I know that France and Deschamps play that style of football. They've always countered. They won the World Cup with 38% possession or something like that.
Yeah.
Was it the Euros or the World Cup? Euros. No, the World Champions. Yeah, they won the World Cup. Yeah, so I understand that given the players they are to sort of set and counter, it's perfect for them. But we caused them lots and lots of problems. And if that game was a draw and there was a replay, for example, in England, you'd be going, England played them off the park, should have beat them. But the fact is, the nature of the tournament is that they won. The goal, the long range goal, whoever scored it, I can't remember who scored it.
Chumani, yeah.
That was like, that was like it was a great effort, but 9 times out of 10 they don't.
He's got to. Yeah, I'm disappointed. That shouldn't be going in. Both goals are so preventable.
Yeah. So plus, there's the foul on
Saka in the middle. Yeah, that's a joke.
We should have probably had 3 penalties. Kane doesn't typically miss penalties. There was a lot of reasons a lot of things happened that are completely out of Southgate's control. The reason why we went out of the World Cup was nothing to do with Southgate's tactics or the way he set up. I thought they were fantastic. And even in the press, the broadsheets, the tabloids that really go after England when they go out, they were all very philosophical about it.
Right.
I think you walk away from this. Apart from, even Kane didn't get slaughtered. I mean, he got slaughtered on Twitter because that's fucking what Twitter is. But typically, it's been it's just one of those things kind of mentality. And I think going into this tournament, I was like, this is 100% Southgate's last tournament. That was where I was mentally. I was like, it's got to be, and then we'll find someone new who can make better use of this incredible bunch of players that we have. But now I'm going, that was fine. It was unfortunate we went out, but that's football. Only one team can win it. let's see what he does in the Euros. That's where I'm at. There's no
Yeah, I think that's completely. It's interesting how he's actually. It's mad, isn't it, that he's gone out in the quarterfinals and he's actually won a lot of people over.
His stock's gone up.
Yeah, I feel like he has won a lot of people over. For me, as I've said numerous times, my concern is the succession plan. Like, he's obviously not going to be what I really want. I'm okay with him having another one, because I think he's a great manager. I really do. But I do but I think there needs to be a very clear plan in place of who is the next person.
Yeah, yes. Go on then. Who do you think?
I think it's so naive to think that top managers. Well, I think we have to. It has to be English coaches, and so you're always going to have someone who's not going to be totally experienced or up to it, as people who are stupid in my opinion. Yeah, the context. That's it.
That's completely different.
But the context of it is if you're a really amazing English manager, you'll have a job. So the way that you get around that is that you give someone that you think has real potential the time to develop and experience in a safe space that is as part of the backroom staff of England, like Holland do. We have to do that, and it's a brilliant vehicle and opportunity for us to give more, to almost give English coaches an escalator to the top of management.
Yeah, there needs to be some sort of plan behind the scenes to engineer the managers and give them the training they need so that they're ready for that job, not just cherry pick ones from club football.
Do you know who's be an amazing example?
It's like England DNA thing. The reason why we're having this, sorry to cut you.
Yeah.
There was this. We talked about this previously, but about, I would say 12 years ago, there was this initiative set up by the FA. Might have been even longer, and it was simply titled England DNA, and it was about renovating and making St George's Park suitable for training up a new crop of young players, but also getting those young players to playing in a way that was different from what we'd been used to for England, which was a lot about physicality and power. Let's create a bunch of young players that are technical and very comfortable on the ball, and let's do this en masse, that they go through the ranks together, all with the same philosophy, all with the same idea of how football should be played, and see what happens. And what actually happens, we won the Under-17s World Cup. I think we won Under-19s, and another one with players like Josh Onamo, who never really made it properly in the Premier League. Can't remember. I think he plays for Wednesday now. Can't remember.
But you're right. But we've actually seen that in that quarter final. Bellingham, Rice, you've seen Rashford, Mount. That energy, Saka. Play, but yeah. It's all there. It's a very lovely. It's a really English. There's an English identity to that style of play as well, which I think people really, really like. Morgan says, like Holland do. Van Gaal's been there 3 times. Look, so what I mean when I say that, I mean like when Van Basten came through, they seem to have turned their back on it a little bit. But I think, Stuart, look, people all laugh at this, but if you strip away all the misdemeanors, someone like John Terry would have been a perfect example of someone who's been with the best as a player, is clearly wants to be a coach and has been a good coach, and you could give him, the tournaments to give him that different perspective. He's obviously seen it as a player, and then when Southgate goes, he steps in. That's people will go, but you need the best experience, blah blah blah. We've tried that with Capello and these other people, and it hasn't worked. And also, again, the context and the context of international football is that's why Van Gaal keeps going back, is because he's one of the few people who's got the experience but wants to do the job. So, and what's embarrassing about English coaching is that there aren't enough opportunities for our managers. So it might look a bit clunky to start with, but you then start to create a pathway where then Jordan Henderson has done his badges already, and then goes straight into that coaching setup, spends 8 years or whatever it is, 4 years in that setup, and then we let him have a go. I know it sounds bad saying have a go, but that's the way around it. That's how you have English managers, because it has to be an English manager. It's embarrassing for it not to be, in my opinion.
Look, you develop managers. Develop players before they get on the pitch on the big stage. Like you think of the amount of players that Ajax have developed through their youth academy
Yeah, great
that
point.
were ready for first team football way before they actually got a
Jude
job.
Bellingham.
Got an opportunity.
Yeah.
Jude Bellingham's an excellent example, right? So he was ready. Even Dele Alli was ready way before he ever got his first cap. And it's about developing managers in the same way to some degree. And I don't think that maybe that does happen elsewhere. I'm not sure. But really, what we do, I mean, and we talked about it on the last fan standing show we do with Bet Victor. We was like, well, who's next? And I had the conversation with Adam McCullough, and we obviously went through who was listed in terms of odds. And what we came to was someone like Jose Mourinho or Pochettino, because it just seems like, what do? You just pick. Pochettino's available and has done well, but his skill set isn't suited.
There's no way he takes that job either.
But he would be foolish to, and we'd be foolish to hire him merely because his skill set, and I've seen it play out at Tottenham, at Southampton, at Espanyol. The only time he didn't do well, and his sort of reputation was stunted somewhat, was with PSG, which would have been a similar thing to managing England. You've got players that are incredible at doing what they've done. They've had this massive career, huge money. All you got to do is set them up right. Whereas Pochettino moulded something, and he needed to be there day in, day out with his players to do it. The skill set for England is completely different.
And you know what? I've realised a better example. Forget Holland. Look at Argentina. Look at Scaloni. They've tried everyone, absolutely everyone, to get a balanced, cohesive team. And Scaloni has not done another job. This is the only job he's done, and he's gone on a 32-game unbeaten run, and he's got a team quite possibly, very close to being in the final, if not in the final. So I think
his only job is Argentina.
Yeah. So, but because he played for Argentina, they saw qualities in him. Like, there's so many managers.
Guardiola he went straight into
exactly. That's it. The only thing that, and that's what I said in my video yesterday, was that like, whoever that person is, people will turn their nose up at them anyway, because you'll have people going, you have these people that just go get Mourinho in or get Pochettino in. It doesn't work.
When have you ever, when there's a clamour to change the England manager, when have you ever seen it work where it just suddenly goes, oh, right, this guy sussed it. It never works. Get Sven-Göran Eriksson. He was at Lazio. He knows what he's doing. Come in, it was all right, and then we sacked him. Got Fabio Capello, did well in the qualifiers, as we always do. Got to a major tournament, we were awful. Scored one goal in the group stages or whatever it was. Sam Allardyce probably would have had a decent level, probably a similar sort of record as those two guys. Like, it's just sacking Southgate or, for Mourinho or Pochettino right now doesn't improve it, I don't think. It just gives people that momentary, oh yes, let's get something new, and then they realise the same problems will occur.
But and also, and I've got to go after this, but how it feels matters. It does matter how it feels, and it being an English person is all part of it, and people go, oh, that's whatever, xenophobic, blah, 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 blah. But look at Argentina, look at these different countries. They celebrate their country, their people. And that's okay. That's, in that footballing sense, it's okay. And the Argentina songs, there's all these amazing songs, mate. And I asked an Argentina fan about, like, what do they all mean? And he said, they all mean, all the songs are about how lucky they are to be Argentinian.
Yeah.
How fucking great is that?
That is incredible. That is incredible.
And that's what it needs to be about. Not about, centre back's got a massive nut. Like, it's like we need to, honestly, England fans need to really have a real look at themselves, like, and go, why have we not made up these? Let's not have these terrible songs that we're hearing with people singing like choir boys. Let's make up fun, long, brilliant songs about every single player that we've got. We can, if we want to.
But it's not what we do. But you're asking people. I would say it's hard, mate. It's hard. You're talking about culture. We're going back to culture again. You look at the songs that Rangers and Celtic fans used to sing, or they're not allowed to sing them, but I'm sure some of them still do. The sectarian songs, it dictated everything they sung about, and same with Croatian songs. I bet they're very nationalistic, because of the breakdown of what's happened in their country. Argentina, it has been a.
I think we can build it though, and I think it'd be a lot more enjoyable, and I think people will enjoy it as well.
Our nationalistic stuff is like 10 German bombers in the sky.
That's it. So we need to rewrite all this stuff. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
because I tell you what, you watch these Argentinian fans. They're having a ball. They're having an absolute ball. Mate, I've got to go.
All right, pal.
But guys, love to have a little chin wag. Sort of football chat. It'll be funny next week. I promise you, it'll be funny next week. Lovely to catch up, mate. We'll try and do a mailbag this week as well for the patrons. Massive apologies for being rubbish, but we're back now.
We're back, though. We're back.
Indeed. Right, guys, I've got to go. Lots of love.
Cheers,
like, subscribe, all that stuff. Bye-bye. Cheers.
Bye-bye.